Greetings, Captain Power fans. Today's date is September 11th, 2024. My name is Peter Murano, and I am author of a brand new tribute book and episode guide to the 1987 television series Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future. The book is nearing completion and will be ready by late October, early November of this year, and it will be listed for sale on Etsy and eBay. Now, it's an amazing honor and privilege to have this opportunity to bring before the microphone and the camera none other than Captain Power himself, actor Timothy Dunigan. Sir, it's wonderful to have you. And would you indicate your identity and that you grant permission for me to record this interview for fan access at a later date?
Sure. My name's Tim Dunigan, and I absolutely grant Peter the right to broadcast this interview.
Oh, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Mr. Dunigan, who has insisted that I call him Tim or Captain.
Please.
Okay,
Yeah,
very
or
kind.
Captain.
It's difficult to do when you're a fan to be familiar like that.
Well, that's okay. You whatever makes you comfortable, I'm good too.
Wow. Well, Mr. Dunigan, Tim, Captain, has graciously considered or consented to answer the questions that I have prepared for him today. And I hope to occasionally go beyond some of the typical questions that he's gotten in the past. We'll see how that goes. I'm very eager to start with the first question. So if you're ready, Tim, I am.
I am ready. Just so you understand, and maybe the people listening, every once in a while it's kind of stuttering and I can't really understand. So if I have to ask what it was again, I apologize.
Okay, we'll see. Maybe I need to sit closer or something. But first,
no, it's the connection. It's just that it's lagging. You know how it does it all the time.
It's dread. He's interfering.
I wouldn't doubt it. It's some digitized something's going on.
Oh, my goodness. Well, to start off, I wanted to ask how you first became interested in show business, at what age roughly, and what preparation had you to undergo before landing the role of Captain Power, and take all the time that you need.
Okay, well, gosh. I was not a very, it's not like I was a young kid and really had aspirations for the theater or acting or anything. I had no interest really in it other than I liked to watch TV, as a kid and cartoons, and spent too much time probably doing that. But when I got into high school, I went to an all-boys Catholic high school in St. Louis called St. John Vianney. And so a lot of my friends in that place, they got involved with the student council. I wasn't involved with much of anything. I was just somebody who was trying to be accepted by somebody as a friend in a group. My aspirations, my dreams, my goals were very mute. I didn't really know. I just wanted to get through the day to the next day. I was kind of a kid like that. And they all got involved in the student council, and I guess the school hadn't done a school play in a long time or something. So they said, well, we're gonna bring back the school play. Let's all get involved. So of course my involvement was, I said, I'll do the lighting. I thought that was interesting. And so we did this little play, and I did the lighting. It wasn't anything complicated. You put the lights up and you set them, and I sat in the back of the house during the play and said, turn the light up, turn the diode off. It wasn't anything. It was very, but we all, a lot of the people in that group were involved in theater. Some, the girls' high school, some of the girls who came over and all that. And we created a wonderful group of friends that I'm still friends with today.
Wow.
So what is that? 50 something years ago. And we all got very involved in theater, and I was very interested in technical theater. I thought that was my interest. Well, this play was very successful, and it was asked to tour around the city of St. Louis to other high schools. As things go in theater and life, uh, they scheduled to perform at some place, and one of the actors who was in the show got sick. He couldn't do it, and so the director said, "You know all the lines. You sit back." I knew the show by heart because I sat back and I would do the lighting. So of course. So I said, "Oh, you're out of your mind." He said, "No, you could do this." So I went to one of the cast people's backyard, and her sister, who was a dancer, helped me with the choreography and I lines, and I rehearsed for like 2 nights. I remember on their patio, and then I went and did the show, and I remember being very nervous. And what I remember more than that, though, is once I got out, and I don't remember what the line, but I gave some line that got a response. And from that moment on, I I just felt something I'd never felt before, and it was this incredible high. It was this incredible rush. And so when I came off, people were like, "Holy cow, you were great! You were really good." So I never had anybody tell me I was any good at anything. I don't think up to that time. So I enjoyed that, and so because of that group of friends too, then the other, like the summer theater, there was an outdoor summer theater, and I got involved and did a play there, and that was it. I started getting involved in theater in high school. So then the next year I got the lead in the musical that we did at my high school. And then I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and right on the outsides there's a Six Flags Over Mid-America. And at that time they used to have live shows. And that, we're out in St. Louis when you're that age at that time, that was a big deal. That was a big job, because they would hire you for the summer to perform live shows that were well produced. I mean, cost a fortune. These were really nice shows. Well, I went to the audition and got on the one of the cast, and I think I was making, honestly, I think $2.15 an hour or something. And you did 7 shows a day, 6 days a week. So you were constantly performing, and just like anything else, I think, if you do something over and over and over and go through and, experience when something goes wrong or when something happens or when you're sick or when whatever, lighting goes bad, the microphones go out. This teaches, that's learning how to perform, which is different. Because performing is one thing, acting to me is another thing. They're involved, but they're two separate thoughts for me.
Can you explain the
So
difference briefly?
sure, performing isn't. I think it has to be in front of a live audience. That's always going to be different. And here's the difference. When I filmed Captain Power, when I filmed whatever scene, you've seen that scene, that scene, you might love that scene. That scene never changes. But if I did that scene on a play, on a Tuesday night, it'd be one way. On a Wednesday night, it could be totally different. Thursday, it might have a different. By Friday, maybe that other actor and I have figured something else out, and now it's playing more like this because the director has said, "Hey, a play is kind of something that people think, oh, it's opening night and that's it." It's not the way it is. That play continues to grow through that run, through that production. And so by the time you close that play, it's different. It's not the same play. It's the same lines, it's the same book, it's the same, but the experience of watching it, and that is what we're talking about. The experience, the whole point of that is about the audience's experience in watching this performance and what do they get out of it. That's what plays are about. You might walk out laughing, you might walk out crying, you might walk out bored. But did it move you? Did it make you? Did it make you think? That's the whole point of usually in play. Now, when you're filming, all of that applies. Don't get me wrong, but I can do it again. And I can try. And also the other difference is people don't understand that makes the experience as an actor very different on film or TV from the stage. In a film, you start, okay, we start filming on Monday. The first scene is page 85, where so you got, then you jump back, then you jump to the front, then you jump. Whereas a play, it goes from A to B to C, more like a symphony to the crescendo, and then it's a movement, and actually and that's why I think editing is a very underrated talent, because the editor is kind of like the director of a play, because he's going to put together that vision of whatever that is they filmed. So, and again, it's more of a collaboration, and that again is the key of doing all this. And that's the difference. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on and on that.
No, it's
Excuse me.
fascinating information and answer.
It's opinion mostly, but it is my opinion. So since I apologize, I got a sun ray coming through here. It's killing me.
Oh,
Sorry.
dear.
Yeah, it's so anyway, to get back to that, I did that, and then when I graduated high school, I didn't have any. I wasn't now, other than I love acting. That I know. That I love being up on a stage and performing and singing. I did musicals and all kind. I loved it. I had no training, none whatsoever, but I loved doing it. I was enthusiastic, which can cover up a lot of things. So that's how it was.
But it's not like there was a.
So then I went to a junior college.
I was going to say, it's not like there was someone who discovered you at that point and whoosh, you went out to Hollywood.
No.
Oh.
I went to junior college, a college that was maybe 2 miles from my high school, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Well, I was still doing the shows at Six Flags, so I was still performing a lot. Then I went to college and I got a couple. I got in a play. They did 110 in the Shade, which is a musical version of the Rainmaker. We entered the National College Theater Festival, and we won to go to the regionals. And the cool part of the play was it was directed by a guy named Gary Pabin, who's now has been for years with Disney Productions. But Gary was a very incredible visionary kind of guy. But the play actually at the end, the whole story is about how it's this huckster comes to a town and says he can make it rain, and they're all farmers and they pay him to make it rain, and of course then the woman falls in love with him and blah blah blah, but at the end it rains. It ends up it rains. We actually had it pour down rain on stage. We designed a system where it would pour down rain on stage, so it was a really good production. It had excellent people in it, and of that group I was in high school with, 2 of them were in it. So I mean, we've done a lot together. So that got me to the regionals of that, which was at Kansas University, and we performed the play at Kansas University, and then some other schools came up and said, hey, would you like to come to our school, and we'll give you a scholarship. And there was a couple different schools there, but then I was still working at Six Flags on the weekend or whatever. Well, the guy who ran the shows there was a group that came through that performed, and they were a band, did kind of comedy and music. It was the son of a guy from the 50s named Spike Jones. Spike Jones and the City Slicker Band. They were a big thing in the 50s. His TV show, Spike Jones, his TV show. When I was a kid, my dad played it. I used to love him. So I knew who he was. But he did his dad's show, and they did crazy music and comedy. And he said, hey, his lead singer and comedian's quitting. I recommended you go audition for him. So I went to some music store or something in St. Louis, and I auditioned for him. And I got the job. And then all of a sudden I was in a van driving to Chicago. I was 20. And so I left school and took this job. And then we drove out to LA, and we were the opening band at Knott's Berry Farm. So I opened for the Monkees and Kenny Rogers in the first edition, and Gary Mule Deer, and we opened for a lot of famous people. We had this job, and then I remember we flew to Philadelphia, and we were on. I don't know if anybody remember the Mike Douglas show.
Oh my gosh!
We got to be on the Mike Douglas show. So
that
was. Let me tell you, my family thought that was really big time.
Very good.
Sorry.
Interesting. No, Well, I'm going to push to the opposite
Yeah.
of the spectrum.
Uh,
Can you talk a bit about what you've done after retiring from acting? And I believe it has something to do with the mortgage business. And do your
that's
clients,
correct.
okay, do your clients
Sure. I after I decided I wanted to try to just do something different because I'd been acting for a lot of years and I found interest in other things. I met a guy who he was a really good mortgage broker out here in Westlake Village, California. We were friends. We would play golf and hang out. And,
uh,
he said to me one day, "You should become a mortgage guy." And I said, "I don't know anything about that." He said, "I'll teach you." So I would go to his office and every day, and at that time I was also working for a friend of mine. For I was we had a deal with Costco. I was putting gourmet chocolates in all the Costco's up and down the West Coast. I was kind of running a program where we did that, and I was learning about business and learning about shipping and pallet configurations and profit loss and things like that, which I found interesting. And anyway, I would go and learn from Tim, and Tim would teach me. And I went and took my real estate license. You had to pass the test. I got that, and then he says you can work here, and I started doing loans. And of course, at first, people there was one of two reactions. One was, they'd be sitting in my office and they'd look on the wall and go, "Is that you in that Davy Crockett outfit?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I was an actor." And then there are two different reactions I would get would be one would be, "Oh wow, really? That's cool. Oh wow, I can't believe you're doing our loan." The other reaction would be, "Oh, how long have you been doing this?" Well, about 7 or 8 months. Oh, well, we're kind of looking around still. So those were my two. And so people ask me, "Did your acting career help you in mortgage?" Yes and no. I think when I found the right people for me, which was actors and movie people, that's who I knew. So I kind of became kind of specialized in doing self-employed, which would be actors or directors or people who are incorporated, run their own show. Because getting a mortgage for a person who's self-employed is much different, much harder than for someone who's on a W-2 or something like that. So I kind of made that my niche. And then I had a good friend, and still to this day, who's a CPA, the best CPA in the business. He was my CPA as an actor. And after oh gosh, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years, he believed in me enough to start referring me clients. And so I did loans for John Cryer, and I did loans for William H. Macy, and a lot of more famous people. I did their loans. And then I also did loans for people who worked on the sets or things like that. That became kind of my niche. Tell your friends that if you're in the business, I can help you. And that was it. And I did it for 20 years until about a year and a half ago. And then the business, the market changed so much, and I just decided I was going to take a little break. I still, in fact, I just spent 2 hours before talking to you. I have to do my continuing education every year to keep my mortgage license. So I still keep my license and everything. But right now, what I'm doing is finding, it's hard to describe. I'm finding out this year has been all about finding out that my past acting work is remembered way more than I ever thought anyone did. And
that's
it's been an incredible blessing and an incredible roller coaster ride so far. I
that.
saw your cat coming in.
No, that's great information.
Oh, sorry
I'm a
about that.
silly person
Stupid.
by nature, and so what I'm going to say is silly. I could imagine you closing a deal by looking at the people across the desk and saying, "Power on,"
No,
and intimidate them to close.
I
Yeah.
had a couple clients who knew, like, wow, yeah, I loved Captain Power, but other than that, most people went, "I'm sorry, what was it called?" No, I don't. But the fun part is, Peter, is if I get a client, who's semi successful or something, and most of the time we kid around, and I'll say to them, "Oh yeah, do do you have an action figure? Because I have an action figure. And they go, no, I don't. I go, okay, so you're not that big of a deal, okay? And so that would be it was a lot of fun, you know. We'd have a lot of good times.
That's actually, you anticipated a question that'll come up earlier about the reality that you are out there in many, many homes as an action figure, DVDs, CDs, all the different merchandise. And I'll wait for a bit later to ask you that one, if I may. Is the audio coming through okay now?
It cut out a little bit. Now it's perfect.
Okay. Any hobbies or interests that you'd care to mention that people wouldn't know about?
You know, it's funny because I thought I was gonna post something today, like Captain Power trivia on one of the websites, because I think there are things that, you know, people don't realize, like, some stuff, but I don't want to give it away. My hobbies, I love baseball. I'm a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan, which makes me this year a very horribly angry young man, because they stink. And I spend a great time with my better half, Jenny, and her family, who all live out here together. We're close. And theater and arts and writing, and those are. But now I think my main hobby and goal is I like just being with my friends and being with people, and all the new friends I've got to meet over the last 2 months at these two conferences I did and conventions I did, and it's just been wonderful. It's just been so much fun.
That's great to hear. And I'm glad.
I've had a ball.
Okay. What you did and spoke about very well is you reinvented yourself. And I'm about the same age as you. I imagine 1972 was close to your high school graduation year.
Correct, 73 for me.
That was mine. Okay. And we have to, as we get older, and think about retiring, but then what? We have to reinvent ourselves, I think. And you can't do the same thing forever, unfortunately. But
I mean, I think,
and you did that.
I agree with you. I agree with that. I don't think you can. People say, well, why would you give up acting? And it's like, I didn't give up acting. I just decided to concentrate at something different. I never gave up acting. The business itself doesn't allow for that, though. See, if you don't stay on top of it, then you can't, it's not like somebody's just going to call you up and say, well, I shouldn't say that, because then in 2000, I didn't act for years. And then in 2002, I got called up and said, hey, come on, JAG, and play a judge for us. We'd love to have you. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I went, I remember I went and I signed some docs on a loan, and then I went and filmed that. I thought this was a great day. I got to do two things I really love, and that's life. Those are the things that was a tremendous day. What a great day I was privileged to have, so that's it.
And I'm glad to hear about the St. Louis baseball connection, because I had a question for you to see if you would know the name of a former St. Louis baseball player whose house is right next to ours. And the man, unfortunately, has passed away, but the name is Wally Moon. Does that ring a bell?
Wally Moon. Yeah, he played for the Dodgers too.
Yes, he did.
Wally Moon Wally Moon was an outstanding ball player. Really, really good. Yeah. Yeah, well, sure, of course. I'm old enough that I was at I was at every home game for the 67, 68 World Series.
Wow.
I was that, because you see, my parents worked in the ticket business. My mom worked for the Cardinals and the football Cardinals when the football Cardinals were in St. Louis. She worked for them. My dad was for the Blues. He was in charge of all the tickets for the St. Louis Blues hockey team. And then in the summer, they both worked for the Cardinal baseball team. So I was at all the hockey games, all the baseball games. I was there all the time. I was a huge fan.
So is the name Stan the Man Musial meaning anything?
Other than one of the greatest ball player in Cardinal history. But here's one for you. Here's one I bet you don't know. I bet you didn't know. Do you know who Harry Carey is?
He's related to you.
That's correct. Harry Carey's my cousin. Not many people know.
Yeah. Okay.
He was my mom's first cousin.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Bob Gibson.
Bob Gibson. I wish I was related to Bob Gibson. No,
Well,
I'm
those
not
are
related
great
to Bob, but
memories.
he was my absolute favorite ball player. Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Number one, no doubt.
All righty. I'm glad to hear all that. I grew up in New York, so it was Yankees with Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, Whitey
Well,
Ford.
I can remember the Yankees were the gods, they were the guy, when I was a kid, I had a Mickey Mantle card. I still have a Mickey Mantle card. I loved Mickey Mantle. He was when I was a kid, I thought he was a god. So
I want to tell you a quick story about Wally. Got to know him as a neighbor, like I said, and this is very quick. I decided I would go on eBay and buy all the Wally Moon cards I could get, the different ones. I think there were about half a dozen, and I would ask him to sign them. So I'd have autographed baseball cards of Wally Moon himself, the moonshot man.
that's
And I
right.
took them over there, and he was always super nice. He loved my wife. He would always kiss her when we'd go over. But here's the thing. I said, Mr. Moon, I have these baseball cards of yours. And he went like this. Oh, thank you very much. And he just put them in his pocket, and that was it. There's no way I could ask him to
That's terrible.
give me back my cards.
Did you give him the? But okay, thanks. Bye.
And away they went. But okay, I better move on here.
It's
Um,
okay.
did you ever imagine, because of your beloved television series, and I'm talking, of course, about Captain Power, that you would be in demand, as you have said, for these comic and toy conventions across the country more than 35 years later, and you'd have a very busy schedule, I can imagine, to this day, answering fan mail and so forth. How do you feel about this reality?
Well, to answer the question, did I think it? Not in a million years. No. And did I think it? Did I think it? I don't know. 6 months ago? Nope. No, I didn't think anybody. I mean, there was a website. I knew there was a website, and I get on once in a while and say hi to people, and they get a kick out of it. And it's so easy to make people happy. Well, that's all you got to do. Just get on and say, "Hey, how you doing?" Yeah, that was a fun scene to film. Whatever. If that gives somebody joy, well, then that's tremendous. How easy can it be? So, but to when I got to, I was really nervous when Todd Henderson and Stephen Boyd. These are the two guys who kind of met Stephen Boyd through the website. And then he asked me a simple question, which was, can I ask? He said, why don't you ever do any conventions? And I just said, because nobody's ever asked me to do one. Well, I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody's ever asked me to do one. And he said, are you crazy? No, I'm telling you the truth. So, like 5 days later, they're calling me and saying, okay, there's this convention down in Augusta, Georgia, a GI Joe show, but they think that they got Captain Power toys, and it'd be great if you would come. And I said, well, I was like, I don't know, let me see if I can get a flight. And they were like, oh no, they'll pay for you to come down. And I said, you're really? Yeah. It's like, okay, yeah. What have I got to lose? So they said, well, can you bring some of your stuff? I said, well, I got some, some of my Captain Power stuff. So I brought it down there. Oh my God. And I was really nervous because I thought these guys have gone to a lot of trouble and expense for me to bring me down here. What happens if, people come in and go, who cares about that guy? I don't know, even know who he is. So I was really nervous that was going to happen. And these guys would go to a lot of trouble and get nothing back. And well, man, with that thing opened up on Friday night and it took Peter, I bet you 15 minutes later, there were people coming up and talking. Oh my God, I drove from Maryland so I could see you. And I was like, are you kidding? No, when I was a kid, this meant so much to me. And oh, you're the reason I joined the military. I'm now a brigadier and I'm a general, and I'm like, what? Do you want to punch me? I don't know. No, I love it. So then you're the reason I'm an engineer at Lockheed because I watched Captain Power because of you and Captain Power. I mean, I am blown away by all this stuff. I can't even begin to tell you that. I had no idea, none. So for me, it was, I told you way back when we started talking about that rush of when I was an actor on stage. I felt that. That's what I felt. I couldn't because and I said this to some of the fans there. I wanted them to know, we caught a lot of abuse about that show. I mean, I personally, as an actor, I had a lot of tough interviews where I had to answer questions about the toy because remember, people were the jet that fired at the TV, and you were killing people and teaching kids how to shoot and kill people, and I was like, what are you talking about? They were robots, not we're defending human life. I don't know. No, no, it doesn't matter, blah blah. And so I never thought that was true. But you know what? Over the years, it builds up, and you start over the years, and especially being away from the business like I was, I had gotten in my mind that possibly maybe I hadn't done such a good thing for kids. Maybe that show was, gosh, are they right? Were they right? Were we not good for kids? Were we harming children? That sticks in your head. Well, 15 minutes at that show on a Friday night, and that all just went right out the window for me because everyone I talked to said, "Oh, you couldn't be more wrong." That show, and I had people tell me, you don't understand. My home life was horrible, and that show was the one I couldn't wait to watch that 30 minutes away like that. You never ever think about you're doing that when you're, especially in a show like that where most of my time I was thinking, oh my God, I'm so hot, or I'm about to pass out, or how long is it going to take to do this, or that's what you're thinking about, or and of course then you're trying to get in, am I doing, is the character working, and are we all working together well, and is the script, let's make sure we're getting these great scripts, are we getting them right? And we didn't talk about the toy ever. We didn't know, we had nothing to do with the toy. It was all a separate entity, but yet we got dragged into it, so and remember, people need to know, I don't know what people think, but we didn't make a dime off those toys. None of us,
Oh,
none of the cast members made a dime on those toys, not a cent.
didn't know that.
Yep, not a
Well, I
dime.
hope you realize, Tim, that you're a hero as Tim Dunigan to people, not just as Captain Power. And when someone
Well,
like me, who's a fan, sees you, we're in awe. And you've probably found that to be the case at these conventions. And I wanted you to maybe compare that to where you have a cluster of fans in a confined space, sort of bearing down on you in a good way, to a random person recognizing you perhaps at a restaurant back in the late 80s or early 90s, whenever it was. Uh, and I ask this question because I remember that you mentioned that you were sort of in awe like that of George Peppard when you had
yes.
that first season with the A team. So just wondering about that phenomenon in your life, how you've responded to
Yeah,
that.
I couldn't sleep for, must have been 2 days before the first table read of the 18 because of George Peppard. I mean, I was in awe of George Peppard. I had, when I was a kid, he made a movie called The Blue Max
Sure.
that was my favorite movie because it was about the German World War One pilots, and that was all about that. And of course, there was other things involved, but as a kid, I just thought that was the coolest thing, and then of course everything else George had done. So yes, I was very awestruck of George, and uh, it was a real experience working with him on a lot of different levels. But unfortunately, I only did the pilot, and they, they decided that I wasn't the right guy for that show. And again, I've said this publicly, and I'll say, because it's just the truth. And that was the right decision. That was they made the absolute right decision. That Dirk was fantastic in that part, and he was way better in it than I ever would have been. I would have been fine. I'm not going to say I would have been terrible. I don't think I would have. I wouldn't have done that. I was kind of a trained. I take a little pride in my acting, but I mean, again, I think that was the right decision. And Stephen Cannell, man, and he made the right choice. And the fact, I as at first, of course, I was devastated. I curled up in a ball on the floor there, for a couple days. But then I had good friends and good agents, and Jack Fields, who was my agent at that time, called me in and just said, "Well, this is it, and you just move on, and that's how it is, and you're talented." And again, I went on, and luckily, I kept working, and because I thought I was never going to work again. I thought, well, that's it, I'm fired. I'd never been fired from any job in my life. I did, washing dishes to whatever it was. So I was devastated by being fired, especially when I thought I had done okay. But now I look back on it, and I was raw, I was young, I was too young for the part. I was too young for the part.
So
that's it.
That's it.
Now, from when people would recognize me, it really didn't happen that often. It doesn't happen very often. So I've never had to really worry about that. One time, I remember at that time when I was filming, I was trying to catch a plane. I'll never forget. And I had to switch planes in, where was it? Was it in Cleveland? Might have been Cleveland or Chicago, one of the two. I don't remember. But I know that, like they do, I'm sure everybody who's had a connecting flight, those flights are never like two gates away from each other. They're always over in the other concourse, right? So we were late, and I was trying to get home to St. Louis or something, because I didn't get home very often. So I really wanted to get there. And I was running and to get to the gate, and there was a bunch of kids, and they went, oh my God, that's Captain Brown, it's Captain Brown, it's Captain Brown. And they said, "Oh, Captain," and they started saying, "Please, will you sign this? Please, will you sign it?" And I thought, if I stop and sign this, I'm not going to make the I'm not going to make the plane. I'm not going to make the plane. So I stopped and I signed it.
Oh, you did.
Stopped and I signed it. And and then I kind of jogged over, and you know what? It had been held, and I got on the plane. So it worked out okay. But that was the only time. And then once at Christmas, I was in a mall in St. Louis, and a lady recognized me from Davy Crockett. But honestly, other than that, I don't ever get recognized. I've been real lucky. That's, because see, I did David Leisure. I don't know. You know who David Leisure is? He was on Empty Nest, a show called Empty Nest, but he was more famous for being Joey Zuzu. He used to do these commercials called Joey Zuzu. David. Well, David was in the show Empty Nest. I did a guest star on this show.
You never know. All right.
Hey, it's always something.
Serenity now.
Serenity now. You want a piece of me?
All right, so we're on the same wavelength there. I've been saying that all week for some reason. My brother is here, and we just cut up together. Oh dear. I did want to ask you about.
Get out the aluminum pole.
Seinfeld is from Massapequa, New York, just like me. And I sent his foundation. Yeah, I sent his foundation a copy of my George Reeves Superman book because I knew he was a big fan. Never heard a word back.
Yeah, well, he's kind of that guy.
Yeah.
He's not a real warm and fuzzy guy at all.
But I told him, hey, we're both from Massapequa. It didn't matter.
He doesn't care.
But you and Mark Hamill, absolutely good.
Mark Hamill does the greatest Harrison Ford impression I've ever heard.
Yes, he does. I've seen that.
It's absolutely brilliant.
Do you do any
impressions?
Yeah.
No, I'm not very good at impressions. I try to do a Chris Walken, but I only do it. Here's what my Jenny's brother Vic always says: I'm the greatest two-word impressionist, 2 words or less impressionist in the world. I could do Chris Walken, but all I do is I just say Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's. Good. That's it. That's all I say. Trader Joe's. That's it. And then I do Charlie Sheen, and that's cool. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I do.
Well, I wanted to ask you, getting back to the interview, I wanted to ask you if Captain Power had peaks and valleys over the years. For instance, was it at a peak the year that the show hit television? I understand it was like number 1 or number 2 rated, and then did it drop or kind of remain steady after that?
I don't remember any of that, to say the truth. I don't know, because we filmed, and then it was on, and then we found out, when we found out it was on, depending on where you lived, it was on at different times and days, and Sometimes it was on at 7 in the morning on a Sunday, and sometimes it was on at 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes on at 3 in the morning. So if it would have got a regular spot, I think, on a Saturday morning, or even I think personally in the evening for adults, I think it would. I think it would have lasted. But again, we were, it was the Titanic. We were rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic because it cost too much. It was just too much money. That was a really expensive. It was the most expensive half-hour show of its time, I believe. And I think I was in the one that it beat, which was Wizards and Warriors. That was another show that was too expensive to make. So I was the king of two things: being in shows that were too expensive to make, and in every show with every animal in Hollywood. So that's my claim to fame.
Well, I had an idea years ago that if they ever remade Dirty Harry, they should have had you in the role. I think you would have been good in that role.
Dirty Harry.
Yeah. You had that look, and I could
see that. So I love that because you have to understand. I only one time in my acting career in Hollywood did I get to play a bad guy, and that was on a show called, what was the name of that show? Hard Time on Planet Earth with Marty Cove, the guy from Cobra Kai. Yeah, he had a show called Hard Time on Planet Earth, and I got a guest star in there where I played the bad guy, and I loved it. It's great because I always, I'm always hey, my dad's got a barn, we could use that. I was always that guy. So.
That's interesting. Now, you mentioned your convention work. Do you want to talk about any upcoming conventions so that the fans?
Well, I will. I can't, but I will say this. I am involved in trying to put together a convention, and it's a Captain Power. It's a Captain Power convention. Power. So that we will have more news on that soon. But I think the reason I'm involved with it is I want it to be a very special convention. I want it to be a really, if fans come, I want to make sure they leave there just like fulfilled. So that's what I'm working on.
Sounds wonderful.
I've gone to these two; they were fantastic. I can't tell you how. And the guys who put them on they're great guys. They work their butts off, and they do it because they're fans. That's what I love about all this. The guys who run all these conventions, they're fans. They're not just guys out there shucking a buck. They love GI Joe, and they love Captain Power, and they love He-Man, and that's what I really like about it. I love that part. That's so cool. And to meet them, and for me, like you were talking about having a group of people around you at those shows, what happens is that happens. And then you got a person next to you, and his job is to kind of keep people moving along so you can keep signing or whatever it is. But that poor Steve, I must have dealt to him because I was like, no, they can talk. I want that person to walk away going, I had a great conversation, and and not only did I get an autographed picture, but I had this personal conversation because I want you to know it's not because I'm trying to, I do it because I enjoy it. I want to know about you. I want to know. Tell me your Captain Power stories. I love it, because they tell us Captain Power stories. Well, sure, I got a million of them. But tell me your Captain Power stories too. And they did. There was these two brothers. They said they had another brother. He couldn't come. They drove all the way to be there, and they said, "Oh my God, when we were kids." And we loved Captain Power, and we kept telling our parents we all wanted the jet, the jet. And of course they said, well, we can't afford all three of you. So he said they bought one jet. He says, oh my God, the fights he said that we would have to play the jet. I had tears in my eyes laughing. Sorry. It was tremendous. That kind of stuff for me is, I learned also what fans, they like, like I had a bunch of personal pictures from Captain Power in a book I brought of us backstage and eating lunch, and that's what people wanted to see the most, which I found very interesting. And I thought, well, no, I get it, because that's what I want to know about people too. Tell me how that influenced your life, or why, why are you here? I know why you're here, but what is it about me in that role or whatever that made you go, I'm getting in my car and I'm going to go see that guy. You know, that to me, that's one of the greatest things in my life. It's so fantastic. I can't believe it. It's just great. I enjoy it. I had such a good time. It's exhausting too. I realized by the end of the day, geez, I'm an old fart, because oh my God, I was exhausted. But you're signing and you're talking and you're this and telling stories and gee, many Christmas. Who knew it was that tiring? But I went to sleep with a big smile on my face. I just really enjoyed meeting the fans, and I want to continue to do that. And we're setting things up. Hopefully, as from what I hear, I should be back in Augusta next year for the GI Joe for the Joe Fest. I don't know about anything else, but there's this other thing I can tell you. It'll be in the first 3 months of next year that we're planning. Hopefully, we'll have something to announce soon.
That sounds great.
I'm really excited about this. So I'm dying to tell you more, but I can't.
Well, now I'm excited. Everybody else who will see
Good.
this is excited. Where would we see the updated information on that when it's available?
We'll announce that definitely on the Captain Power site there on Facebook. And we'll make sure that it gets out. I'll make sure it gets out to the fans one way or the other.
That's great.
Yeah, because I really want people to, I want it to be special. I want it to be a great experience.
All righty. Now, I went back and looked at a little tidbit that you had appeared in Burbank, California in 2013, in October of 2013. At a convention. It was Captain Power Fan Night.
I'm sorry. It's cutting out. I'm sorry.
There was something.
Okay.
Oh.
No, I got the Captain Power Fan Night back in 2013. Got it.
Yeah. I just wondered if you had any specific memories about the folks from the show, Gary Goddard, any of the other actors. I think Sven was there.
Sven wasn't there. I was the only one there.
You were the only one. Okay.
Yeah. Sven couldn't make it or something. I don't know what happened, but I was there. But Michael was there. Larry DiTillo, Gary Guffman. Just everybody. Writers. There was just everybody was there. It was cool for me because you have to understand a lot of those guys. I didn't get. I never really got a chance to talk to Gary. Very much at all. So it was fun for me to. Hey, I really enjoyed your music, and it was wonderful. And but Goddard was there, and Gary's a great guy, and has always treated me just fantastic, and been nothing but kind and supportive. And I hope to be the same kind of friend to him. So I owe him a lot, and for him choosing me for Captain Power, and I'm glad. I hope he was always happy with what I did because I like Gary, and I respect his talent. Especially his talent, which is extreme, by the way. In many different areas. Gary's a really good guy. So that's that. And then that night was fun because, that's when there was a possibility of the reboot of the Phoenix Rising. They were Roger Lay and his partner. They were trying to put that. I was involved in that. There was a talk, I was going to maybe play Mentor, do the Mentor character in the new remake, and I even filmed a little blurb for him that was really fun to do. And Gary was there, and that was fun. But I had hoped that would come to fruition, but I guess that wasn't meant to be. But it's still, in my opinion, I think Captain Power, there's still something. I think there's another life for it down the road. I'm past my days of it, but it's a great. I just think the whole premise of the show. There's so much it could, especially with today's technology. It could be, it could be right up there. I think with any Marvel type of thing. As long, and I say that not so much about the effects, but our writing was as good as theirs. I'll say it right now. Our writing was as good as anything Marvel's ever put out.
Now, there is a way that you could still be Captain Power.
Well, I am Captain.
No, I mean, you could be on the screen as Captain Power as you were.
Oh, when they did the effects?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that. Well, yeah.
You could be
Well, hey, listen,
digitized.
if they could do it, if they could just actually come to my house and just do it, then I'd be really happy. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I'd
we'll
like
hope
to
for
look like
that.
33-year-old Tim again. That'd be great. I'm sure my bet Jenny would prefer me looking like the 33-year-old Tim too.
Well, you never know. It's
Yeah,
possible
yeah.
on the screen. But I
Right.
wanted to get your opinion about one of your co-stars. I recently rewatched the episode Judgment from the series in which Pilate is put on trial. And Jessica Steen, I'll tell you, I got emotional watching this because of her performance. And I understand she won, was it a Gemini award or something?
I believe so. Yeah. She's won. I, I don't know if she's won one or more. I don't know, but she should.
She was really amazing in that series, as you all were, of course. But my question is, when I thought about that, do you folks as actors, do you approach a role and a particular episode like, yeah, this is my chance to shine and maybe I'll get recognized and get an award for this? Or do you just, this is my job and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability and whatever happens, happens?
I don't recall ever, and I'm trying to be as honest as I can. That's why I'm taking my time. I don't recall ever even thinking about that. I don't care about awards that much, you know. I think, I watch, when I was a kid, I used to love the Academy Awards. I used to love to watch the Academy Awards. They were special, and it was so glamorous. And then now, I don't know. It just seems silly to me. I don't know, and I get it, but I also I'm tired of actors like to have everybody tell them how good they are a lot, especially at certain times of the year when these award shows, and look, oh, again, I love, I certainly to be recognized. I think to me personally, uh, at a SAG award, because your fellow actors elect you, they're the ones that would to me be at this point of my life would be the highest award I think I could ever get. That's my personal thing. I'm not trying to say the Academy Awards it's just that I think they've ruined the Academy Awards. I think I'm sorry, but anytime you start basing art on requirements, you lose me, man. You lose me. That's the whole thing. I don't care I don't care who's working on the crew. I don't care. If you're telling a story, that's all you need to do. Tell the story the best way you can tell the story. And the rest of that is a bunch of crap. Who cares? Who cares? I don't care if, they got a quota of this or that. And I don't like the word quota. I don't like it. I like to connect it with art, not connected with making art. No, no. You know what? If you don't like it, just don't like it. That's fine. Don't go see it. Don't support it. Don't whatever. But to tell someone, no, you can't make that. You got to change that. No. I mean, I'm not talking. Certainly nothing obscene. I'm not talking about things like that. I'm talking about with these ridiculous things that have nothing to do with the art of film
Hmm.
that the Academy has taken on. That's my personal opinion. I realize I'm probably in the minority, but I'm an old, crabby old man, so I can do it. But I just think it's once you start losing the art, and that's not what we're trying to. People are voting on what basically what you're doing is movie. What's the best movie of the year? Well, unless you had every film crew make the exact same movie, well, they're all different. It's art. So but which one moved you the most? Which one just you got told? That's what it's all about. And if you're not doing that, then why do it? If you're not making people, can't tell you. I remember doing a play in college called, Streamers. It's a play by David Rabe. It's about Vietnam, and we had to shave our heads, and they brought in an Army DI instructor, and we went through boot camp for a couple of weeks for this play. I mean, we were into it, man. And this play, in the play, my character and we did it in a very small theater. Uh, and my character gets stabbed and bleeds out, dies on the stage. And we had used this incredible system, blood system, radioactive, radio controlled blood systems, where the knife would, it would go in, of course, but it also, there was a part where he had to cut across my hand, like that, and the blood would come out the tip, so it looked like he had cut. So you're sitting in the audience, it looks real. And then uh, I had a blood pack, but the stage manager would hit a button, and it would turn a valve in and so it would slowly, little blood, more blood, more blood. It was unbelievable, but the acting in this show and the direction was superb. And in fact, the reviewer for the Post Dispatch in St. Louis, we worked. Remember where I went to school? We worked with the St. Louis Repertory Company. We were in the same, we worked hand in hand with them. Well, he said, forget the professional rep show upstairs. Go downstairs and see this play. It's unbelievable. So, but my mom, after she came to see, and I told her, I don't know if you should come see the show. She came. She was in tears. Oh my God. And I'll never forget Ellis, a great actor named Ellis Rice, who was in the an African American actor. He's the one who kills me. And I remember she knew him. He's a friend of mine. I went to school with him. And afterwards, she was in tears. And I remember she just went over and grabbed him and hugged him and said, "Oh, you killed my son. You killed my." She was She was It was how much it moved her. I'll never forget that. That to me. And though I felt terrible, there was a rush that we had done such a, my God, it must have been just great. It must have really, because my mom just didn't do that. She just didn't do it.
Oh, did you have to repeat that?
We did it. I don't know how many nights we did it. 5 or 6 nights, I guess we did it. That was a hell of a good show, man. I've always had people always say, "What's the best?" I think it was the best thing I was ever in person. I thought it was the best because the actors were all tremendous. The direction, everything was. It was just really a very moving show. I mean, really moved. In Vietnam, I lived through. You lived through Vietnam. It was a horrible time. My brother was in Vietnam for 2 years, and our house was a morgue. It was terrible. So it was a special play for me. But gosh, I haven't talked about that in a long time. Sorry.
Okay, no, wonderful. Everything is great. Now, I'll ask you something about bloopers or pranks on the set of Captain Power. Was there anything like that going on, or no time for that?
There was a lot of laughing, and it's because, well, look at us. I mean, look. I mean, here, look at that guy. Look at that guy. I mean, you're wearing that. You're walking around, and that's not the craziest suit. There's and then all of a sudden they come in and here's a rewrite, and it's a speech. It's 2 paragraphs and I don't know what the hell I'm saying. It's all technical jargon, and oh my God, hold on, wait a minute, I got to figure this out. What am I saying? But, or power on, and, we'd have to stand perfectly still. And then you'd go and change and then come back. And then there was also, okay, a little left. Okay, wait. Okay, more to your right. Okay, stop. Okay, put your head down. Open your mouth. A little bit more. Stuff like that. But the one I remember the most was Sven he had a line that had the word reconnoiter in it.
Not going to happen.
He couldn't get it out. Let me tell you, Captain, we have to reconnoiter. What is this word? He was all upset. Oh my God, I'm crying now. I was crying then. And I just, and no, he went, and I think they even said, well, we'll change. And he said, no, I'll get it. That was fun. But he got it. But we can
That's awesome.
That, or, you try to do something, some move or something, and trip and fall on your face, or, but mostly we just laughed. We just look at each other and start cracking up, just especially the camera guys that were, I don't know, they could have all been stand-up comics in my book because they would make me laugh so hard that I blew take after take. I just would blow. And you get tired. And when you get tired, you get silly, and and remember, you're in the suit and you're in it for 12 hours and it's so hot. I mean, you have no idea how hot it was. There's no air conditioning, nothing like that. You're in a barn, you're in this big old building, dirty building, and they're pumping smoke out every scene. So you're below your nose, it's black, it's just, I'm sure we were doing all kinds of healthy things. But, and yet it was the most fun I can remember, having. So, yeah, there was a lot of things, that didn't work right or something like that. But mostly, I have to say, mostly no. It was a good crew, really good crew, and great bunch of actors. And luckily, when you're in a tough show like that, the fact that all of us really liked each other and got along really made it a lot better. We hung out, we'd hang out after filming, it's not like we didn't see each other except on the set. We were friends,
I was
and
going
then
to ask about
the camera guys and everybody, we hung out. We were a tight group. And I think that a lot of that had to do with because we knew we were doing something different and special and unique. And we knew we were in this was a very special project. And you could feel it, you could feel it. It was, days it was a pain in the ass, but that's nothing that's good doesn't come with a lot of work. So it was again, when I can remember getting that job and just I couldn't believe that I was gotten a lead in this series, and because all I knew about it was I'd seen when I went to the audition, they had drawings up on the walls where I went to audition of the characters and the Overmind and the Jet and I was like the audition going, what the hell is this thing? This is weird. So, gosh. And then I read the side and I thought it was really good. I thought, oh, this looks pretty good. I like the character. He's kind of a, silent, that old school kind of Western, silent, strong.
Yeah.
That's cool. I grew up with that kind of stuff. So yeah, for me, that was, and again, I was lucky enough that we were doing the show in that 80s period where that was popular, that type of character, Magnum and the A-Team and all those shows with the hero guy, that was what was popular, and I fit right in. I was at the right place at the right time, and I got, I was lucky.
It's interesting that you mentioned the timing aspect because I remember going to see Chris Reeves' Superman movie when it first came out. And when he said, I'm here to fight for truth, justice, and the American way, people in the theater snickered. They thought that was corny or something. And I thought, wow, how bizarre, how much of a dinosaur I must be. Because that's the right line to say if you're Superman. But I wanted to ask you,
no, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
I was going to ask back to Captain Power, did you get to keep the power suit?
No. I did keep the fatigue suit.
Okay.
I don't own it anymore. I kept the belt, which actually I sold to a fan in Georgia.
Oh.
I had my crew jacket. I sold to a fan in Georgia. I know a lot of people are like, why would I do that? I'll tell you why. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. And that stuff has been in a storage for years. Does that mean it doesn't mean anything to me? Of course not. It means a lot to me. But I thought about it, and again, who would appreciate that more than that fan, that guy? Because when I looked in that guy's eyes and saw when he held that thing, when I gave it to him, he had tears in his eyes. Now, why wouldn't I want him to have that? Because he'll cherish that, and that's cool. And I got I got to wear it. I got to do it. I don't need the belt. I don't have. If that belt gives him enjoy, and again, now I'm giving back. Now I'm giving them something again that I haven't been able to give them since I was filming the show. So as you get older, those are the things that mean something to you.
Good. Yes, agreed. Next question is, some actors don't watch their work apparently as time goes by for whatever reason. Now, the Captain Power series has been released on DVD for several years now. Did that prompt you to review the series? And did you
No.
come away thinking a certain way about your performance? How much of Captain Power was Tim Dunigan and vice versa, if I could ask it that way? And do you have any favorite episode from the series? That's a lot.
Sorry, I did that last part. I didn't hear it. I'm so sorry.
I asked if you had a favorite episode from the series.
I don't think I have a favorite episode. I have favorite scenes, I think. Certainly the scene with the pilot at the end.
Oh.
And the reason is not probably why. The reason is because we were all in it. I loved that we were all, it wasn't just, yeah, they had that relationship. I get it. Yeah. But if you remember that scene, we were all in it. And that's how it should have been. And I loved that scene because of that. Also because she's just such a damn fine actress, just so she was. And remember, Jennifer was never, she knew this show wasn't for her from the beginning. She wasn't, she was leaving the show. I mean, remember that. She's such a professional. She's such a pro that every day on set, it was just perfect, and that taught me a lot about who she is. And, the fact that she was brave enough to stand up and say, this is not for me. This is not what I choose that I wanted my career to do. I was pissed about it because I wanted her to stay, but hey, I admire her for what she did, and I certainly have always admired her and continue to admire her abilities as an actress. Now I forgot what else I was supposed to ask them.
Oh, how much of Tim Dunigan is Captain Power and vice versa?
That's a good question. I think there's, definitely, I would say 70-30 that it's Tim Dunigan in there. But again, depending again on when there's times, let me go back to what you said about when it came out on, do you watch them? No, I didn't watch anything. I haven't watched myself act, except one time I turned on the TV. Did you ever, you probably never have, but I was going to say, have you ever had this happen? I came in the house, turned on the TV and was doing something, and all of a sudden, how you're not listening, and all of a sudden you go, that sounds familiar. You're like, is that me? And you turn around and I was on Cheers,
Oh.
So, other than that, no, I didn't really. But when the DVD collection came out, I still didn't. But when I was getting ready to go do the conventions, somebody told me, hey, they're all on YouTube. You can watch them. Because I gave away all my DVDs of the show. I want to give it to other people. So I went back and I did watch, and I'm glad I did, because it did remind me of a lot of things that were good for meeting the fans, and so I could remember and do things. But also because I'd forgotten what a good show. It was really, it holds up, I think, and yeah, the effects are old and whatever, but the acting's good, and the scripts are good, and the camera work's great, the lighting's good, costuming's fantastic. That's all good stuff. So yeah, I mean, I thought the Christmas scene stands out. I thought that was a lovely moment in the show. And anything David Hemblen ever did pretty much stands out to me, because David Hemblen was the bomb. David Hemblen was just freaking the man to me. I'm sorry.
Now, when he had a lot of powerful scenes, but I remember one where he's a new order. He's just over the top. And were you guys watching going like this after?
We would watch. I would watch. Here's the sad part is that David was always kind of, we didn't have a lot of scenes with him. So we'd all be together doing stuff, and David, I could still see him in that bathrobe. He'd have all that makeup, that thing on, and this kind of striped bathrobe, and he'd be walking around smoking a cigarette or something, and he'd be like, and I'd be like, we're like 2 hours away from your scene. He'd be like, oh man, but when David would when he was doing his scenes, and that was like, oh, now I get a break, because when you're the name guy in the series, you don't get many breaks. So, but I spent most of those breaks. I wanted to just watch him. I just like to watch how he worked. I learned a lot by watching, just sitting and watching him as an actor, how he prepared, the questions he asked during filming, uh, how he acted in between shots. There's a lot of things to learn being a professional actor, and a lot of it has nothing to do with when you're on the camera. So David Hemblen is a consummate actor. He's a trained professional actor, and to me, keep your movie stars, brother. I'll take that guy any day of the week. Now he can do anything. He can do anything. He could do Shakespeare. He could do comedy. He could do a musical. He could do. That's who I wanted to be. I wanted to be, no matter what it was, I could play it. That's the key. Versatility I always found to be just, and I didn't get a chance to do much of it. So like I said, when I got to play one bad guy, I'm sure it was way overboard because I was so excited about, got to be Mr. Bad Villain guy.
Now that's great. I wanted to warn you that this thing may happen again. If it does, can you sit tight and we'll get back on as quick as possible. But I wanted to ask, were you ever given the opportunity to provide input into a scene or the lines you were going to say or how you were going to say them, or anyone else for that matter in the cast? Did they have give and take with the writers and the director, or it just, you do it like this and that's it?
No, it was a collaboration. And Michael, I remember coming into my dressing room and sitting and talking with me about certain things about the character. And
Is
about
that Michael Reeves?
Michael Straczynski, the
Straczynski. Oh, okay.
And I remember him coming in, and I never had a writer do that to me before. I'd never had a writer ask me about what I thought, and you could feel it, the writing kind of as it went on. They didn't just write Captain Power; they wrote me playing Captain Power. That's what happens if you watch any kind of, go back to the beginning of Cheers or the beginning of Frasier and watch the characters, and then go 5 years in and see how the characters are. Well, the writing, it adapts to the person, playing the part, and how they interpreted the part. So, but he came in and asked me about this and that, and got opinion and my input, and and I got to ask him, what about this or that? That was really cool. I enjoyed that. On set, usually, if there was an acting problem, no, we'd work on it. The actors or the director would kind of just let you, okay, let's do it. How are you seeing it? Then maybe we'll name this. But then there was always the effect or whatever. We had to think about a lot of things. The character, if it was in the shot or whatever, that was all new. That was all different. It hadn't been done before, so it was hard. But no, you had, nobody ever told me how to read a line. I can tell you that. No, not one person. And I don't remember ever telling anyone else that either.
Now, did you have the opportunity to sit down together with the cast and watch your work after it was in the can, so to speak?
All I heard was, did I get to sit down with the cast
and view the episode in its entirety after you did it?
I don't think we ever did. Maybe at the cast party we showed one, but you know what? There is an outtake reel somewhere that we showed at the final cast party that was hysterical. And I don't know if that still exists, because if it does, I'm going to have to buy it so it doesn't get out. Because because there was a lot of, I remember I had to go every week I would have to go to the recording studio, and you would do pickup lines or whatever it was. But also I would have to record Captain's Log 23, the beginning of all that stuff. So And then, so I would just start talking and doing, and they would record it. I didn't know they were recording it. I would do funny lines or voices or something. And they kept all that. And oh my God, it was just hysterical.
Great.
It was just hysterical.
Well, you had great chemistry.
I wish I had that.
Oh, I was going to say you had great chemistry with all the actors in the show. The character of Hawk, tank, pilot, scout. The power team was like a family. And that came across, exactly. And I think that's one of the endearing attributes of Captain Power is that the way you were as a family unit, was that simple to pull off because everyone just simply liked each other in real life, or was that hard acting?
That's a good question. I think we were lucky that we all did get along. You're never going to work with anybody 12 hours a day, 6-7 days a week for months and not have conflict, but I don't recall any. I don't. I mean, I recall a lot of laughs. I recall a lot of teamwork of figuring out things. But when you're brought together, remember we were the only 5 people in those power suits.
So I was wondering about, I think you touched on this slightly, the situation with residuals for Captain Power. Now, you didn't get anything from the merchandising of the toys. What about the reruns?
Nope.
No.
Not a dime.
So how does
Not
that?
a dime. That's why, I go to the conventions now and, I sign things and I make some money that way. But believe me, it's not, nothing like what we should have gotten or, deserved. But that's the way it goes. Those kind of things are, that's all business of acting. And it was always a lot of the reason why I stopped acting, because I don't like the business of acting very much, because it's not a very kind or progressive type of business. I find on a lot of people who are life, who have a big say whether you do what you love or what you don't love. That's there's a lot of people in Hollywood, in the business of Hollywood, who are in positions that I don't know if they're really qualified for this. But that's the way it is. So what can you do? You can either put up with it, or you can do what I did, which is I said, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to go take my interests and I'm going to develop into something other than what Tim Dunigan, the actor guy, I want to, is that all, not that that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I'm proud of what I did. Don't get me wrong. But at that time in my life, I needed a different challenge. I needed a different kind of challenge. Acting is a challenge through its entire run, but I needed a different kind of, for myself, just to feel good about myself. In order so that I could still be a good actor, I needed that. So it's kind of a complicated thing in my head. And I look back on it, and some days I look at myself and say, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know. When you get older, you just, I don't know. I just seemed good at the time. It seemed like the right choice, I say that about a lot of my past relationships. It seemed good at the time, and then it was just not very smart. So that's life, and you move on and you learn and you try to, my whole thing is, getting the latter part of my life, but I never want to have where I'm not, meeting new people or learning new things or experiencing new information or learning something new or teaching something new to someone. That is, I'm sure, as you can understand, the teaching, teaching is a very rewarding, when I've done some acting coaching with actors one-on-one, done some personal for some manager friends of mine who have asked me to work with somebody for an audition or something like that, and I very much enjoyed it. I enjoy working with young actors, especially young talented actors. But I don't think again, I don't mind working with people who aren't talented if they're trying, because I think they're going to get something out of it. I think, I've said it in other interviews. I think part of the curriculum of every school, I don't care what level, but you should be required to take some sort of acting or performing class. I think it's good for you. I think it's good for your mind. I think it's good for your ego. I think it's good for just for you, and learn about who you are, and breaking through, and what you're capable of, and what you think you can't do and what you can do. And not only can you do it, but you can love it. You can enjoy it. And I think that makes you a broader person and makes you a better person. So those are all the things that, mean something to me as I get older. And I get to look back on an incredible, Hollywood standard wise, not a very good career, not a very long career, but certainly one that was packed with a lot of things, a lot of fun, a lot of experiences, and a lot of good, work. Not so great work. That's just the way it goes. But some, yeah. I watched a couple. Like I said, I watched those Captain Powers again, and yeah, where I used to look at it and I didn't like what I was seeing. Now yeah, it was okay. It did all right. That was a good show. And so, so and so was so good. Peter was so good, and that. And then I watched a couple of the Davy Crockett's too, and that was another part where sometimes I cringed. I thought maybe I didn't. Yeah, did I not find that guy? But then there's scenes now I watch and go, no, that was okay. It was all right. But I think any actor does that. I think you're always, you're always criticized. You're always your worst critic. And again, the critics are, can be ruthless, and you got to learn to just, you're never as bad or as good as they say you are, and who cares what they think? It's what you think. It's just, are you happy with what you did? Well, then that's it. Did you get paid for it? Shut up. That's it. That's all.
Good. Thank you for those answers. When I was putting material together for the book, I came across the Captain Power trailer that I think was used to show potential investors, networks picking up the series, what it might look like, but they used an entirely different cast. Yeah, I guess hadn't been cast yet. Sven was in it, but nobody else.
Yeah,
that was it.
No, I don't think that was done before they hired all of us. I think. Now they also, they came to us with and talked about using our images. In other words, our us on sleeping bags and things like that. But the offer for what they wanted to pay us was ridiculous.
Laughable.
It was just nothing. It was ridiculous, and we hired our own lawyer to represent us, and they wouldn't budge on this ridiculous figure. So we just said, no, then you can't use my image then, because you're not going to pay me for it. And so they would actually bring in while we were filming, they'd bring in other actors and put them in and take pictures for stuff, and they did it in front of us.
Oh,
yeah,
that's not cool.
Nah, but you know what? Whatever. At that point, I didn't care, because I just thought we had a really good show, and that I was going to be doing it for the next, couple of years. I really truly believe that we were going to be doing this for at least 2 or 3 years. And that was good with me. I mean, I was very happy with it, and I enjoyed living in Toronto. It was, lovely. So it was great. So, but things weren't to be. So
we're getting to the end of the questions, and I really appreciate your perseverance through the technical issues that we had.
Honestly, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it.
Oh dear, you're so kind. Well, you and I grew up at about the same time, and I wondered if you would share which television shows you recall watching and enjoying, and could you put in a plug for the George Reeves Superman series, because apparently you watched that.
I did watch it.
What series?
I can tell you for sure. The George Reeves Superman series was on after school for me on channel 11, KPLR, St. Louis. I remember when I was 10, or we had three television stations in St. Louis. That was it. So, it was on one of those stations. But anyway, after, back when we were kids, when you came home from school, they had after school programming for you. But of course, it was all things that they won't let you watch, Three Stooges and Little Rascals and
Oh, good.
and all this kind of stuff. So Superman was on, and and to me, I love George Reeves, and I loved him actually. My favorite George Reeves Superman, just so you know, is when he was on I Love Lucy. That's my favorite.
Ah,
That was my favorite appearance. I thought he was really good in that. I loved how, because there's a part where he's got to go out on the ledge and kind of save her, and he did it like Superman. I mean, he did it. He showed, he was just. It was just, it was great. I don't know. Even as a kid, I remember being impressed by that. So yeah, and the book you wrote and were kind enough to let me read. It's just fast. It's really fascinating and such an interesting, sad story too. Just about him and his life, and but yeah, man. I mean, what what's her Nell's played
Noel Neal.
Noelle Neal. I mean, Noelle Neal is nobody's ever been that character to me but her. I mean, the movie, even with Chris, and Chris and I were the same agents in New York. I knew Chris, and by the way, couldn't have been a nicer man on the face of the earth. Really talented, a nice man. But even in those movies, which I love, I love that she was in the first one. They gave her a little cameo,
Yeah.
in that movie. She was Lois Lane to me. So yes, that book meant a lot. And when I was a kid, when I remember when they were going to bring Batman, because I was really into Batman comic books, and which I wish I still have one or two, but I wish I had all the other ones. But I collect now. I was into Batman, and there was not a very popular one called Metal Men. And I still actually at the Georgia Joe Fest, I found two Metal Men comics there that I got from a guy that I've wanted for a long time.
Wow.
So that was my kind of thing. But then when I remember when that Batman series was going to come on, I was really excited. And then I was kind of disappointed because it was really campy, and it wasn't, because what I liked about Batman, of course, was he was the Dark Knight. He was this kind of shadowy hero, and I enjoyed that part of him. And the Flash, I think those were my two favorite guys. Comics, I was very much into comic books, and I also, as a kid, was very much. I didn't, as far as TV. When you're the youngest kid in your family, back in those days, the only time you got to watch what you wanted to watch was like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. So, what did I like to watch? I watched Rough and Ready and Fury and Sky King.
Oh,
And
Sky King, Mike.
yeah,
Penny.
Sky King. Penny was a babe. Penny was a crush. Yeah, I mean, I watched those, but then I remember like the Beatles. Remember when the Beatles cartoons came out? And
Oh my
all
goodness.
that kind of stuff, and
Hadn't thought
so
of
that was it. But at nighttime, my favorite series was the Wild Wild West.
Okay, Robert
It was on
Conrad.
Saturday nights. I'll never forget it, and I got to watch the Wild Wild West because I love that show.
Did you watch Gunsmoke?
So that was it. But as far as anything, huh? Gunsmoke.
Gunsmoke?
We didn't watch much Gunsmoke. When I watch it now.
Me too.
I watch the reruns now. We record them. My Jenny and their brothers and I. We watch them, and then when we're having dinner or something, we watch them. But only the black and white ones. We don't watch the color one. Yeah, only the black and white ones.
Agreed.
Because those and they're great. And what's really great about them, Peter, is that all the people who are guest stars. There's all kinds of big names that are on Gunsmoke, man. It's cool. So I enjoy watching that. Yeah, that's fun now. And now I watch Murders in the Building, and I like that. I like all those cable shows I'm into. So.
Are you a Monty Python fan by any chance?
Oh, are you kidding me? What, are you kidding me?
I have to tell you a quick story. When I was teaching for many years, just to break up the monotony of my boring lecture, I would ask a question. And this is in a lecture hall with maybe 200 or 300 students. I'd say, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? And there was always some guy in the back, African or European. But one year it stopped. And after that, no one answered. And I thought, I must be getting old.
That's how you know.
That's how you know.
Because anybody should know that that's the proper, and of course also anybody would know that message for you, sir, was also, everybody should know that. They should know all that stuff.
Faulty Towers?
Are you kidding?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. One of my favorite shows of all time.
What happened to the
Don't mention the Germans. Whatever you do, don't mention the Germans.
I think I got away with it. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
Faulty Towers Hotel.
You do voices. I understand Mark Hamill.
I went and saw John Cleese was he did his one-man show. I went and saw him. And oh my God.
How was that?
Hysterical. He was just hysterical. And my better half, Jenny, she doesn't understand why I think they're funny.
Well,
now, how is that possible? How is that possible? How is it possible? The funniest, and you know what I love? I'll end it with that. Don't get me started. See, I'm a big fan. But I remember I was with Spike Jones, I was with the band here in California in 1975. And we drove from Buena Park up to Hollywood because Monty Python and the Holy Grail was premiering.
Oh.
And we went to watch it there, and they had a small Trojan rabbit identical to it out in the lobby. And awesome. I remember I was crying, laughing and then do you remember at the end of the movie they just rolled the thing, the credits?
I hated that
so fast you couldn't read them. It was a joke. And you know what's funny? Now it's exactly what they do on television. They do that.
They were ahead of their time. Oh, that's great.
They're
using coconuts.
Brilliant. Oh, no, it's not.
I'm very happy to hear that.
It's just a flesh wound.
Wow. Well, last question, Tim. And apologies for all the questions previously, but thank you for all your answers, of course. And
they're helpful.
It's really not a question. It's asking you if there's anything that we did not cover today that you would like to mention, or anything you'd like to say to all your fan base before we sign off.
Well, I hope they've heard the parts where I talked about how important they are to me and how much I appreciate and thank them for not just being kids and watching me, but for remembering it and for coming, and making me through your emails and talking face to face, if we're lucky enough to do that, reminding me of some of the, my favorite times of my life, but also, just really making me appreciate those times even more. And to hear that they got something out of it. Thanks. That means a great deal to me. So I look forward now in my latter years here of maybe continuing to try to do these appearances and get to meet you in person. I hope you come. I promise if you do come to see me,
bet.
There'll be a line where we'll throw you through it. I don't like things like that, and whatever. Also, we're going to try to set it up where we can, maybe if you want an autograph picture or something, we can do it through the mail and stuff. This is all new to me. Hang in there with me, and we'll try to get you what, as long as you're interested in something like that, then we'll do it. But thanks, and thanks for including me in your book. From what the work I've seen, I look so forward, and I think all the fans should really look forward to when that comes out. It's going to really be something, and I hopefully look forward to signing a few of those when they come out.
You're going to have your own supply of them that you can sign and distribute every time you go to a convention. Absolutely,
that'll be cool. That'll be real cool. I look forward to that, and I look forward to meeting everybody. And again, if you're ever bored and nothing else to do, give me where to reach me, and I could tell you about when I wrestled an alligator or something.
Well,
or I worked at a water ski,
that one.
or when I worked at a water ski show, or when I went to a brothel when I was 15 in Mexico, something like that. You know?
Didn't anticipate all that. That's fantastic, sir. It's been, I have to tell you, it's been a real thrill for me to have spent this time with you today, tonight. And I know all the Captain Power fans appreciate your continued presence as the representative of the Captain Power TV show, and that you continue to give back and help make their lives, my life, and this world a better place.
Yes.
God bless you.
Amen. Thank you. Same
All
to
right.
you. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.